Greetings and warm welcome to all the participants for the session on research and innovation priorities in Asian cities with reference to digitalization and biodiversity. I'm Ashita Sharma, working as Cities and Climate Change Technical Advisor at ESCAP. Moving ahead, it gives me immense pleasure to welcome the eminent speakers of the panel today. We have amongst us Ms. Hitomi Ranken, Chief of Environment and Development Policy Section in Environment and Development Division at ESCAP. It gives me pleasure to welcome Professor Wang Zhen, Deputy Dean, College of Urban Planning, Tongji University, China. He has worked extensively in the field of sustainable urban development. Also, it gives me pleasure to welcome Professor Avinash Nagpal, Honorary Professor, Guru Nanak Dev University, India. Professor Nagpal had been working extensively in the field of urban biodiversity. Extending warm welcome to all panelists and participants. Without much delay, handing over the floor to Ms. Hitomi for her expert presentation and intervention, highlighting the research and innovation priorities in reference to digitalization and biodiversity in Asia.
Thanks so much, Ashita, and a warm welcome to everyone to the podcast and recognizing eminent panelists who join us here today. So I will just give a very brief overview on the topic that we're here to address. And it's really an important topic because we know that we're in the midst of a biodiversity crisis. We have high rates of extinction in biodiversity, and at the same time, we have climate change proceeding. And climate change is part of the problem, right? And it's going to get worse. So how can we leverage digitalization as an approach and digital tools and technologies to deal with this twin challenge that we have? So very, very quickly, I'd like to just give a quick overview. So if we start with the number one approach, which is essentially smart urban planning, right? So digitalization approaches offer us a really powerful way to leverage geospatial data and digital mapping through GIS and other digital tools to help urban planners identify green spaces, to monitor changes in land use, and plan for sustainable infrastructure development so that we can minimize urban sprawl and that we can preserve natural habitats and that we can maintain biodiversity corridors, which are important for maintaining the diversity, but also the viability of the populations, right, that we're aiming at. So really GIS is the main tool that we need to be looking at. One interesting way to leverage that is looking at digital twin cities. So this is where you have a virtual replica of a physical city, which will enable simulation analysis and analysis of different scenarios. For example, for infrastructure development, for scenarios of different population growth, different levels of heat across different parts of the city so that planners can test and optimize different urban designs for reduced emissions, but also enhanced resilience of biodiversity to climate change, right? So digital twin cities, really important tool. We see that they're going to be really, really important in that regard for strengthening our development of information on biodiversity. And where do we get this information from? Considering that not all countries and all cities have a huge capacity to do major biodiversity surveys. One way to do that is to engage the populations in citizen science. So we may be aware of applications where we are engaging people who are interested in birds, for example, for checking what birds are there in the city, mapping them out in the city and providing this information to city governments. This can be done as projects in schools. This can be done as projects for engaging different civil society groups. But the point is that we can engage citizens to gather the data that we need to deliver on the power of GIS systems. And this is, I think, an important approach. And this approach is also important because it helps raise the awareness of citizens and city populations and communities who are really interested, and it empowers them as well. And as you know, when you build this kind of social capital in a city, you start to build the kind of movement towards better cities that you're looking for. So Another interesting example of leveraging data and digitalization is work that's being done by the Biodiversity Credit Alliance. This Biodiversity Credit Alliance is working to develop the enabling environments for strengthening biodiversity finance. So identifying what makes up a good practice and an effective practice on biodiversity conservation and attributing that to a particular location, and also facilitating those who are proponents of such projects to be financially awarded, capturing all the data that's needed to identify a project as financially and biodiversity sound requires good data. So then you have blockchain technologies which are emerging to make sure that finance is transparent, but also is not redundant, right? So another example of the way in which technology is being used. I also want to highlight by green infrastructure and biodiversity, right? Digital tools for urban greening are extremely important because when we look at this challenge of cooling of cities, very, very critical. And what we see is that when we look at nature-based solutions and cooling, they are one of the most promising, most low-cost avenues for strengthening the response to this crisis of heat in cities. And digital tools and AI can help identify suitable locations for planting trees, for creating green roofs, and establishing green walls, all of which can reduce temperatures significantly, reduce the urban heat island effect, improve air quality, and support urban biodiversity at the same time. Right. So these digital tools are very critical for urban greening. And maybe the last thing that I will mention is this issue of water management. So as you know, a water-rich environment will be a good home for biodiversity as well, right? So when you're looking at what resources to manage better within cities, when you want to manage your climate response, but also your biodiversity conservation, you want to look at the role of water in that respect. So using water effectively and efficiently is very critical. So you can have smart water systems. And then you can also have systems for flood prediction and prevention. Digital early warning systems can also help protect our blue water spaces, which are really critical for biodiversity conservation within cities. So with that, I will stop here and thank you for your attention. Over, Ashita.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hitami, for your expert views. Indeed, nature-based solutions and digital technologies help in a great way to attain the sustainable urban development. Moving ahead, handing over the floor to Professor Wong for sharing his ideas on the development of Habitat Garden in Shanghai City. Over to you, Professor Wong.
Okay, thank you, Ashita. It's my pleasure to present the case study in Shanghai. Let me share my presentation. Okay, thank you. Today it's my pleasure to present the habitat gardens in the high density urban spaces using the Changning district of Shanghai as a case study. My name is Wang Xin. I work in Tongji University, Shanghai. If you look at Changning district, please look at the map on the right side, and the Changning district is part of the downtown, highly populous area of Shanghai. So you can see this purple area where my mouse is pointing is the Changning district. So you can see many smaller districts in the downtown areas of Shanghai. In total, Shanghai has about 24 million to 25 million people. And in Changning, it has about 500,000 to 800,000 people living in Changning district. And if you fly over to Shanghai, the Hongqiao Airport is just at the edge of the border between the Changning district and Minhang district. So the airport is here. And on the outside are the suburban district where it's a mixture of the farmland and the satellite cities of Shanghai. And the Changning district is small. It is about 37 square kilometers. And in Changning district, there is already 8 distinctive habitat gardens already built up. And you can see at the photo here that although Changning is a very, very high density downtown urbanized area, but the green is very important. So it is famous for this streetscape with very high green coverage, we call it. So the tall trees, the plantains, they provided green canopy in this very hot summer of the downtown areas of Shanghai. It is also a place for the birds to have a rest within this very high density city. And this bird view taken by the drone, you can have a good overview of the Changning district. The Asian cities, they are really dense and very, very populous, like Delhi, like Tokyo, Korean, Seoul. So all these cities, we have very high density. Is a mixture of the CBDs. So you can see in this photo the high office towers and the mixture of these residential buildings. So you can see these relatively low-rise areas, which the residential buildings are built in the 1990s, and also the higher apartment blocks, which is built around 2000 to 2020. So in this very high density context, Changning district government still wanted to utilize the very small piece of green areas, green spaces, to increase the biodiversity and create benefits for the people living in these areas. So this is the Changning Biodiversity Protection Map. So this is a map for 37 square kilometers. So Tongji University is about 1 square kilometer, where we have about 15,000 students learning and living on the campus. And you can see there are planned habitat gardens. So these red dots are representing the habitat gardens. And there are also green areas. So that is the existing parks. So which is belong to district government or to the belong to the city government. And then there are planned green corridors for the species, for the animals. They can migrate even in these very high density cities. And also there are main corridors along the Suzhou Creek, along the river, where they have the best connected migrant channels for the animals, for different species. So there is already a map, and also there is a guidelines for the habitat gardens, which was a joint venture project between the Changning district government and Nature Conservation, an NGO. It is a project created together by them. When we're talking about the habitat gardens, there are mainly 5 principles that we have to follow. The first one is the use of the native plants. So the habitat gardens are the places where we intentionally to use the native plants, where the plants normally can best adapt to the climate in the city, in this area. And it will need much less maintenance and irrigation, things like this. The second one is the elimination of the invasion alien plants, which is the plants that is migrant from the other countries or from the other part of China. So we emphasize that using the native plants. The third one is the enrichment of the plants communities. So in a lot of existing Shanghai municipal gardens or parks, it is more or less artificial park. So there, everything is more designed, we can say designed, or the species or the plants are more carefully chosen from the aesthetic point of view, from landscape architect's point of view. So now in these habitat gardens, we not only using the native plants, but also we wanted to enrich as more species of the plants as it can establish a small ecosystem at this little park. And number 4 is the reduction of the use of pesticides and fertilizers. So which is, we wanted to keep the environment clean. We want to create a safe places for different kind of species that can live there. And the 5th is the provision of supplementary food, water resources, and the shelters for the urban wildlife. And this morning I talk about the Sponge City project, and the Sponge City, or the NBS, the nature-based solutions, are well represented in this habitat garden design and construction. And I have to mention that if you are interested in this habitat garden project, you may visit the website of the NGO TNC, tnc.org.cn, and you can find more details about this project. And the project was initiated in 2017 as the Urban Biodiversity Protection and the Restoration Practical Action of the Nature Conservancy Shanghai project. So it is funded partially by this NGO, and currently there are already 8 habitat gardens already built in Changning district, and in the 14th 5-year plan, the government has decided to build more habitat gardens within this area. And you must ask me where this land comes from. So if you're making habitat garden, there must be some green spaces. And the pre-transformation, the state of the habitat gardens in Changning was mostly abandoned and a messy community site with poor environments and relatively scarce biological species. So because, as I mentioned, the big parcel of land used as the municipal park or district level park, they are quite well managed by the government. But there are quite a lot of spaces within the gated area, within the gated community. There are places has been ignored or has been much less been taken care of. So the city government, the district government of Changning, they work with TNC and go to the community leaders and told them that why not we work together with a little fund provided by the NGO, and then we transform this almost abandoned land into a more meaningful and habitat gardens with highly participation of the community, the people living in this community. And it is also a collective effort and between the government, the NGO, and the community people. So you can see from this photo on the right side that with a careful landscape architect's design, together with the biologist, we created the habitat gardens, especially for the teaching purpose also. So for the young, for the kids, for the students, they go to the habitat gardens and they find it is very, very interesting. And there is a way that people participate and that people to know the nature through the very small habitat gardens. And these slides show that how it looks when we say there are abandoned or messy small parcel of land within the gated living communities. So because it is not an open, completely open green area, so normally it should be taken care of by the community management company. but it is not very well managed and almost abundant, and there is very little biodiversity there. So habitat gardens mostly are utilizing this type of green corners and transform them to the habitat garden. And this is the habitat garden now. This is one of the 8 habitat garden in Changning district. So they are using the ideas of design with nature. So you can see the little pond. That is the example of the sponge city concept. There you can they are using this wetland to storage the rainwater. So there is not much need of the irrigation for the green plants, because the plants are native plants, and it can live with the more wet seasons and more dry seasons, so that it will stay there. And the rains are utilized. And also you can see there is a high participation, interactive between the community people, the kids, and the garden. And the human has less impact, or they're not disturbing the habitats within these gardens. That is why a lot of footways, the footpaths are elevated from the ground. And the habitat gardens normally have a clear entrance, and where people are guided the way that they can go within this habitat garden. And this is one of the design of the habitat garden, and using this triangle, very small piece of green spaces. And it was in this garden, it has been divided into 3 zones. So the first one is small area where people, we call it a natural garden. So there is not allowed for the people to go in. It is a little spaces only for the green species and animals. And then there is a nature observation area where people can sit down and they can see the birds, and they must keep quiet and observe the activities of the green plants and the birds and the animals in this garden. And then there is a larger spaces where it is a habitat participation areas where people can read a little sign about the plants and know about animals, and kids can play in this little community habitat garden. So on the left side is the photo of these triangle spaces where it has been transformed from the messy, abandoned spaces. And you can see on the floor, they also using wood and the other materials, which is a recycling of the material within this community, and it has no harm to the animals, to the plants, and it also permeable to let the water rain goes down. So all these concepts are integrated in this habitat garden design. And you can see in this area we have applied more enriched more species in the green plants in the garden, and students, they have a tour in the garden, and they can understand, they can get to know more species of the green plants, and observe how they grow up in different seasons. And also you can see the community people, they can sit, have a rest, and at the same time they can have observation of the to appreciate it, the quiet nature and the biodiversity in this community. And this is the end of my presentation, and because of the time limits, and we are welcome to Shanghai, and then we can have a tour in the Changning district and to see all these habitat gardens. And it is really a wonderful solution for the biodiversity, and it is connecting people also in the communities to get people know each other, and it's a good way to get a strong community, also resilient community. Thank you. And Ashta, let me hand over the floor back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Professor Wang. It was indeed enriching to know about these habitat gardens and wonderful impact on the urban heat in the city of Shanghai. And moving ahead with this, it is again a linked topic that we are moving to, because development of habitat garden will definitely require the knowledge of urban biodiversity which can flourish within the city. So on the same lines, I hand over the floor to Professor Avinash Nagpal to share her presentation, which is about the digitalization of biodiversity in Amritsar city. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ashita, for giving me the opportunity. And it was nice listening to Hitomi, and she talked about the bio crisis and climate change. We are into this crisis, and it was good to see the habitat gardens Dr. was showing to us. So I'll be talking about digital documentation of land activity of Amritsar. We are talking about climate change or climate crisis, and it is very much here, and each one of us are experiencing its effect. The years 23 and 24 were the hottest years on this earth, and we are seeing the erratic weather patterns, whether they are droughts or floods or the glaciers melting. And most importantly, we see that it is the urbanization which is more concerned with the climate change. And this climate crisis is mostly due to urbanization and its associated transportation, industrialization, infrastructure building, and all this have resulted in loss of biodiversity. And biodiversity, as you know, that we are just one species, Homo sapien, and we are sharing this planet with millions of species, and we are responsible for their extinction, which is a very sorry state of affairs. And this climate change or climate crisis is mainly due to greenhouse gas emissions, whether they come from transportation, industries, agriculture, rearing of animals, burning of fossil fuel in residential or commercial setups, and many more reasons for these emissions, and they cause the heating of our planet. And we also know that that loss of biodiversity is due to many developmental projects, which include which happen in the cities, and which include road widening, expansions of different setups like airports, railway stations, bus stands, more shopping complexes, more educational institutes, more hospitals, and many more things. And all this have resulted in loss of biodiversity. That means biodiversity is the need of the time. We need to plant more trees in urban areas, because we are removing most of the biodiversity. We are causing the deforestation. We are removing the forests, and we are more into building. So we are shifting to urban areas. The cities are expanding, more and more rural regions, they are entering into the city, and they become part of the city. And if we are expanding our cities, then means we need to plant more trees in the cities, in the urban areas. And trees, as we know, that they provide many ecosystem services. Trees as well as shrubs, both of them, they are very important for cooling the our planet, for cooling our cities, for decreasing the temperature. So we all are well aware of these ecosystem services which these trees and shrubs provide. They are actually habitat for the small animals, birds and squirrels, etc. So if we talk about my city, Amritsar city is the city of the Golden Temple, and it is located in the northwestern region of the country, that is the India. So it is very close to border with Pakistan, and it is second most populous city of Punjab after Ludhiana. So Golden Temple is a major tourist attraction for people from around the world. And besides, we have other tourist attractions as well. And we have major educational institutions. There are many, but our university, I think, is the best one. Then we have Khalsa colleges, medical, government, dental colleges, as well as the colleges for women, education colleges. There are many more colleges and schools around there. So two rivers pass through Amritsar district, and they are very close to city Amritsar, and our city experiences 4 seasons: winter, summer, monsoon, and the post-monsoon. So this paper shows the geospatial analysis of urban sprawl patterns in Amritsar city. So this is a city in 1972, and this red region is the built-up area in 1972. This is in 2002, and it is 30 years after this, and you can see the expansion. Then this is 2006, so still more expansion. And this is again 72, just to compare, and this is 2015. So much expansion has taken place in almost more than 40 years. And in last 5 years, not last 5 years, but from 2015 to 2020. So you can see most of the southern part of this city has already been covered with built-up area. So maximum expansion has occurred during last 5 years. This is what I wanted to show, because this particular picture is not part of this paper, but I have taken from the same authors who have shown this particular data. So when the city is expanding, so there's a lot of tall on trees. Most of the trees were cut. And on the name of the road widening, many old trees, which may be more than 100 years old, were cut. And there was a lot of hue and cry, but development has to go on, and this went on. So this rise of the city, so that means we have better infrastructure, we have better airport connectivity, and we have more tourists coming to the city. And it has been said that there were 10 lakh people coming to Amritsar in 2015, and now we have 20 lakh people coming to Amritsar in 2022. So double in just 7 years, the number of tourists, they doubled, annual number of tourists, they doubled. This is because of the Golden Temple, the holiest shrine of Sikhs, and there are other tourist attractions as well. So a number of bridges, they have also been built during last 20 years, and what needs to be done. So we need to grow more trees and shrubs, and which ones, that is the main concern. So that means we need to identify species which are already growing, and we document these. So documentation is very important, and since we are living in a digital era, so digitalization of our biodiversity is very important. Since I come from the plant sciences, I started working on digitalization of the plant diversity, and digitalization is very helpful, and it is so that we can easily access information which is available on the web. So one only needs a computer or any device, let it be mobile or laptop or a PC or a tab or an iPad, anything, any device and internet facilities required to access this information. And these plant databases, they also contain pictures and which help anyone to identify the plant species. No doubt, number of efforts are going on around the globe. We have number of databases available, whether they are national or international. In India also, we have many databases available, like we have eFlora of India, we have a database by Botanical Survey of India, and then we have eFlora of China, then we have Singapore plants database, we have World Flora online, a number of databases are available. But efforts at regional level, they are required. They are very important. I haven't seen much, only few cities. Only I come across one city of India, that's eFlora of Gandhinagar, which has a city level database. So city level databases, they are very important for development of cities and to guide how to go for green spaces in the city. So we have developed, this is a humble beginning. Actually, we wanted to go for plants of Punjab, but in the beginning, we had just focused on Amritsar city. So this database is actually for Amritsar city. So EDOPS means electronic database of plants, and it has 3 sub-databases: electronic database of trees and shrubs, electronic database of herbaceous plants, electronic database for GNDU herbarium. So these databases can be searched from the plant-wise and family-wise lists, or you can search by plant name. And for herbarium, we can search from plant-wise, family-wise lists, then location-wise lists, we have collector-wise lists, and the flora-wise list. So there is a complete list of plants as well. We have a feedback and glossary, and this tells about our department, and this is about the team. So we can access EDOPS from the Google, and we can just Google EDOPS, or we write EDOPS GNDU, and the first hit we get is EDOPS. And we can also access our database from the GNDU website. You go to GNDU website, and from the university links, we can go to EDOPS. The login, the homepage appears like this. Anybody can go to the homepage, but when somebody wants to access the data on this website or database, one has to register. So when you click on plant-wise list, this screen comes and you need to register. Clicking on register will take you to this page, and when you register, you give your information, and you have your own username and password, and you register, and then you can access the plant list. And you, from the drop down, you can select any plant. For example, I have selected this. This is Abrus, and I have just, I'm not going to talk much about the plants, but I just want to tell you, we just tell the etymology, its popular name, its botanical name, and the family, and its nature, whether it's a shrub or a tree. And I'm talking about the electronic database of trees and shrubs. Its flowering and fruiting times, and its conservation status, and its distribution. And in the distribution, we talk about whether it's native to India or any other country. And this particular plant is native to Indonesia. We also give brief gardening notes, economic importance, and description. And we also give different images so that anybody, even a layman, can identify this particular species. So going further, we can get another plant. This is a native plant, and it is, red list, it is near threatened. And these are the pictures of that plant. We can still see another plant, and it is again native to India, and it is least concern. And I'm just running through this slides so that you can have an idea about what type of images we are showing. So this is again a native plant, and this is an exotic plant, and this is not yet listed in the red list. But this particular plant is growing in many places in Amritsar city as well. So this is widely cultivated plant. So I don't think it needs it's in need of much concern. So this is the Acacia fistula. It's also a least concern plant, and because it is growing sufficiently enough. And this is another exotic plant, and is least concern because it is also being cultivated in India as well, but it's a native of Brazil. And this is again a native plant and least concern, but the populations of this particular species, they are decreasing. This is our personal observation. This particular plant is a native plant and is not yet listed, and I think it should be a least concern because many trees are growing in Amritsar as well as other parts of the country. This particular plant is an exotic plant and is least concern because many of these trees, they are growing in different gardens and parks in Amritsar city as well as other parts of the country. So this is another exotic plant of least concern, growing well. It is being cultivated in many parts of the country. This is again a native and a least concern plant. And just show some of the exotic plants, and this is the native to the different countries, and they are cultivated in India. All of these are least concern or not listed. But this particular plant is a native to Madagascar, cultivated in India, but it is critically endangered. It should be, because I don't see many plants of this, but only one plant we have in botanical garden. So our botanical garden is conserving many species, and this Chacranthemum amosipholia is also vulnerable, and it is cultivated in India, but not much plants are growing. I haven't seen many plants, but we have cultivated in our botanical garden, and some may be seen elsewhere, but not many. And this is a list of all those plants which are least concerned or not listed. This is another plant which is native of China and other countries. And this is cultivated in India, and it is near threatened. But I've seen many of these plants growing in our campus, as well as in many gardens, parks, and other institutions. But it is a cultivated plant, so I don't know how it might be less in China. And but we have many more plants in India. So this particular plant is native of Cuba, and it is cultivated in India, and it is near threatened. I haven't seen many of them, but we have few in our campus and some other gardens. So I talked about the exotic plants, and these are 3 native plants. There might be many more, but I'm just giving you an overview that they are near threatened and endangered plants, and they need care and they need to be conserved. This is an example to show the electronic GNDU herbarium database, sub-database. And we can see the, different herbarium sheets, almost 5,000 accessions belonging to nearly more than 700 species. They have been digitized, and they are available freely on the database. One only needs to register. And the important thing is that you can zoom in any part of the plant, like we have zoomed in this particular label, and any part of the plant, so that it helps in identification of any particular specimen. So the usage statistics of this particular database, this is the number of hits. That means total number of times any page is accessed. Number of requests, sometimes a person opens it, and then it in same day he opens it number of times. So for a single day, number of hits are considered as one request. So for example, one person may have hit this particular database twice. So the number of hits becomes 6, while the number of requests are 5. So our database has been accessed from China number of times. Like we have number of 93 requests from 11 cities from China. From Germany also 10 cities. We have 125 requests. Much more from our own country, and from the 205 cities this database was accessed. Similarly, from Singapore, Taiwan, and United States, number of people have tried to visit this database. Secondly, to create awareness on plants, we have created QR codes for plants in the GNDU campus. And we have made the nameplates for these plants, and they are displayed all over the campus. So nearly 100 nameplates have been already installed, and clicking on the QR code, you get this information which is already available in the database. So we have downloaded these, prepared the PDF files of this each plant, and then we have created a secondary database for QR codes. And anybody going around the campus, and because these days everybody has a mobile and can access the QR codes, so it becomes easy for anybody to know about the plant they are coming across. Now, when we talk about creation of or the greening of the urban land spaces, for this we need to plant more trees. One thing we are talking about, we need to plant the native plants and exotic plants which have been naturalized in our area. So depending upon how each species is growing in our area, we can choose. And second important thing is whether the plant we are choosing is, what is the air pollution tolerance level of that particular species. So there are two indices, air pollution tolerance index and anticipated performance index. On the basis of this, we can select plants for greening of urban area. And in this particular paper, we have worked on 4 plants growing along roadsides, and this is the gradation on the basis of their air pollution tolerance level. So just to give you an idea, air pollution tolerance index, it was calculated on the basis of 4 biochemical parameters: ascorbic acid content, total chlorophyll content, and the relative water content and pH of the leaves. And depending upon the APTA score, they were termed as tolerant, intermediate, sensitive, or very sensitive. So there is another index. This is anticipated performance index. And this takes into consideration the APT value of a species as well as its morphological characteristic, type of a plant, whether it's an evergreen tree or it's a deciduous plant habit, whether it's a tree, shrub, or herb. Its laminar characteristic, that means the size of the leaf, whether it's a simple or a compound leaf, all these factors. Canopy, whether it's a dense or a sparse canopy. Then it's economic value, how much, whether it has more than 4 uses or 3 uses or between 3 to 4 uses, depending upon. So API positive scores are given on the basis of different values, and then API score is calculated from the positive grades obtained divided by the maximum possible grade a species can have. Depending upon these criteria, maximum possible grades is 16. So depending upon the API value, the plants, they are assigned whether they are better to be grown or they are better for pollution tolerance or not. This another study, this girl worked on the air pollution tolerance potential of selected dipod tree species for urban forestry, and she normally considered the plants growing in the GNDU campus. More than 40 plants they were studied, and she found these species to be more tolerant and they should be preferred over other species to be for green space development in Amritsar. And urban greening is a need of the time, and creation of databases of plants at regional level, that means at the city level, can provide better information on which species to grow. So I want to add here the database we have developed is accessed by different people from Amritsar, landscape officers, and the people involved in horticulture. They consult the database, they talk to us, and while doing any plantations. Thank you very much for patient hearing.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was an extensive city level work on biodiversity conservation and documentation of all the plants and trees and shrubs present in the city. And it is very much important when we are talking about the urban biodiversity planning and rewilding of the cities and everything. So with this, I'm thanking all the panelists who were present here, and we can hand over the floor to the room in Montreal